Oi,
We're back.
we're live. Back. Where were we? Last show?
Green room.
Hi, guys. We're here in sunny Salem, Oregon. Really sunny today at Black Harp Studios with Mr. Forged in Crypto and Mr. Titan in person.
All of us, same
Mr. Forged in
room.
Crypto and Mr. Titan right there.
It's been my pleasure this week meeting these fine gentlemen. I haven't seen Faz in person in well over 20 years. And
30. What are you talking about?
30?
Since 1990.
We're not that old, are we?
30 years. Yes, we are.
Jesus.
It's 1993, sir.
Good God.
You guys are OAF. And this is my first time meeting Titan in person.
Absolutely.
This is great. Him
It
and
was
I,
fantastic.
we were going to do our own little podcast beforehand, but we just were bullshitting for the entire time,
I'm
having a couple
telling you.
whiskeys. So.
Let me take the Faz logo off and put the Nerd Node logo right there in the upper right-hand corner because we are supported by Nerd Node.
And we will get back to Rethink Theory at some point. We've had 2 weeks of people being gone and traveling, so we're getting back to that. We were going to do one today. We were so excited to just hang out and bullshit in person that got away from us.
Well, we are going to be doing some different directions with Faz Radio too. On
We
Thursdays.
are.
You
We're
guys have
gonna
been
be
talking about
moving.
that for a long time. You guys got to get that shit together.
Well, we were pandering to you on Thursdays, so we don't have to do that anymore.
Now you don't have to do it.
So we were thinking of, I wanted to go a slightly non-crypto direction because one, I think that'll get a bigger audience, and two, our conversations keep straying into other areas besides crypto.
Yeah, it's life, right?
And I'm really into helping people understand why things are the way they are, and I get really annoyed and really tired that people keep repeating the same shit all the time. They don't really examine what they're talking about. And so, of course, it's easy to do with crypto because crypto, you need to find out what's going on.
Right.
But I want to do it with like more common events, more
Like
recent events.
Example.
Well, I don't have a problem with talking around politics. I have a problem giving opinions on politics. Like, I like this politician or whatever.
Yeah.
I would like to go into such and such a politician said this, such and such a politician said that. That's full of shit. Let me tell you the 16 reasons why. And I mean, we could even do both sides just to show that, we're not showing much favoritism.
There's a lot of common events that happen in the world that we have opinions on. We'll talk like before the show, after the show, about a lot of this stuff. And we originally thought about making a lot of that part of the premium content. But with his idea of kind of turning into a more rounded non-crypto kind of thing, we're going to experiment, I think, and kind of see what people want to hear. And there were a couple of people when we first brought it out that said, oh my God, no, not politics, anything but politics. And we're in agreement of that, but there are political topics, I think, that are worthy of a conversation.
Yes, because a lot of people, when they talk about their favorite political thing, it's like they're reading from a fucking manual or something, or some party's platform. It's like, have you ever looked into this?
Oh, that's both parties on both sides. They just parrot whatever. We're gonna get in a political.
And so
podcast. we should probably just steer
so
clear of this
what
really
Titan,
soon. So
what Titan and I can do is actually we could each debunk something from our preferred political side that would make things easier, or argue against our own side.
and then when you want the person that's right to come in and tell you where you guys are wrong, you just bring me in, and then we'll be good.
You'll make the cameo at the end of every appearance to judge.
But don't.
Yeah, I'll be like,
Don't-
and
right?
today Faz was right, first time ever.
Today, Nate is right. All right, okay.
Well, we gotta take I don't know if anybody heard, but the king of entertainment, Mr. Jerry Springer, passed.
Oh yeah,
I saw that. So we
Wasn't
have
he
to
like
jump in and we have to take that Jerry Springer role.
there you go. Well, on the last thing of the political side, did you see the Tucker Carlson tweet?
Oh
Did
my
you see
goodness.
how many views he got?
Oh my goodness.
Well, he's got. Wasn't he the main show on Fox?
he
so
was
he-
the number one rated
Which
show.
he got like 9 million views. Like
Okay, why? Okay, so
Hold on.
if he was a top-rated show, why wouldn't he get that
Listen.
many views? Okay,
he would get 9 million was like his top views he would get in like a week.
Mhm.
In the first 24 hours, he had 45 million views.
Yes.
It's probably over 100
like
million.
like all of a sudden him leaving Fox News caused everybody to think, oh my God, what does Tucker have to say?
It has nothing to do with Tucker. It has everything to do with the platform and the platform actually giving news out and the people that are there and wanting to see it. Like, I feel like Twitter can be a really good place for people to give the actual voice that's there instead of
so then what you're doing is you're moving it from Fox curating their news to Elon curating your news.
Yeah, but you actually think Elon curates it himself? He's in there going like this, like, oh yeah, I want this, I don't want that.
I like how Elon said, so we don't mind, you can say anything on Twitter you want, and that one guy who kept track of Elon's plane got booted from Twitter.
Right. So, no, he didn't get booted from Twitter. What they did is they ended up changing
They changed the rule so he couldn't,
he could only he could post it, but it wouldn't show up until like an hour after the location was vacated.
No, I thought they removed his account completely.
At first they did, but then they said that everybody complained and said, I thought you were doing this fairly. So now if a celebrity or a person of, stature,
person of celebrity
gets doxxed like that, they just hold the tweet for an hour to let that person move on from that area so that there's like people aren't shooting.
So that way, if you are in the know and you know where they're going anyway, then you just move to the next location. Like, oh, looks like he's going to his ranch. There he goes. He always hits this place first.
Well, so the Tucker Carlson thing, people want to hear what he has to say. I think that they realize that now that he's off of Fox News, it's going to be that much more, not only entertaining, but way more the truth, because he won't be held back even because
I think
he even still had to hold back.
I think the point is he has a popular name. I mean, he was the top grossing show in Fox. So him leaving, no matter how he leaves, bad news is good news. No matter how he leaves, he's going to have a large following. He's going to take it with him. So he'd be an idiot not to take advantage of that.
So he's not even fired yet.
I think I'm looking at it as more of like hopefully at least the death of your traditional newscast. Like there's so much like ridiculous stuff of the news that it kills me. We talked about it on our show last time. It's like the amount of correlation that they have between these news shows to say the same exact thing throughout the entirety to give their message to people.
So I had talked with Titan about this, and Titan was mentioning, he showed me some YouTube videos and showed me how they say a lot of the same things. Well, if you ever work in an office, you'll find that certain terms come up, like let's take that out of pocket. I've been out of pocket this week, and let's get that worked on or whatever. There's a number of phrases that you use when you work in an office, a traditional office and stuff that.
Yeah.
There's also phrases you use when you work in a traditional news setup, because these words are reviewed as not biased. Let's just say like the word ostensible. If you listen to CNN, they'll say ostensibly this has happened.
He's so smart.
Well,
shows smart
big words.
Well, ostensibly means because someone says this is true, and so they, because someone or some group, and that's their way of kind of distancing themselves from, and then there's this alleged crime by this alleged person.
So what you're saying is because their newscasters are all going to use the same words or similar words.
They use similar words,
okay,
because they're let's just say they're politically correct words.
But I think that
their news were the correct words.
But what he was referencing here, it wasn't the fact that they were using the similar words to talk about a story. They were using the exact same phrasing from start to finish. Literally scripted. It wasn't like, hey, we want to talk about this shooting that happened over here, and they each talked about it similarly. No, it was exactly the same. Scripted, not
I'm still not disagreeing.
Okay.
I'm still not agreeing.
I don't agree with you. Wait.
Damn words. So these scripts aren't always written by humans. Okay, they're written by templates.
That's fine.
And those templates are approved by groups of people.
So hold on.
Now you're getting to it.
So here's the thing.
But I have a different take on where that template.
Whether it's a template. If you take a template and you're going to tell me that this template's going to be, if it's all just by template and you have 100 news stations, You're telling me that every single one of those are going to be exactly the same.
Okay, so let me fill that in for you. These templates, a lot of times these templates are written by companies like Reuters and AP.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh yeah, of
And
course it
then-
is, because that's what they want. They want to get their
Okay, well,
their voice out.
and then the news stations buy these stories from them, and then they report on that stuff. Now, Reuters and AP are they don't run the world. They just happen to be news organizations that aren't the same as CNN and Fox. They're thought of as more neutral. Okay, so when a celebrity dies, you notice when a celebrity dies, immediately there's a retrospective on their life. Yeah, that was written like weeks and months and years beforehand. And every once in a while, one of those retrospectives will slip out. It'll accidentally get posted, and then the celebrity themselves will be like, "Excuse me, I'm not dead."
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, "Oh, whoops, sorry. We do this to fill up space because when you do die, we want to have something ready so we get the eyeballs."
But that doesn't drop to every single news source, and they all spout the exact same thing at the exact same time.
That's the part that I can't fill in because I don't work in that area. I'm just giving you some.
I know, but you're not addressing what I'm saying. Like you're
making an accusation with a you're making an assertion without much more to back it up than
It sounds exactly like what you were doing. There was nothing to
No,
back
I
anything
was
up.
saying basic things like they pre-write stories, they have templates, they buy stories from people like AP and
so if I
Reuters.
listen to one newscast and I listen to another,
Mhm.
and they're exactly the same, which I've listened to multiples of them, they're exactly the same.
Not all the time.
No. I'm telling
Sometimes.
you. Okay, I wasn't prepared for this because I would have prepared for you and I would show you.
You know, if I was prepared for this, I would have prepared for you. God damn it, we'd have fucking gone at it.
It would have been really short and you would have been crying, but that's fine.
I'm crying because you were dead. That's
We'll
why.
digress because people are probably getting really bored of this because
Yeah,
This isn't even talking about crypto because Jesus Christ.
we haven't gotten that far yet.
goodness.
This is like the green room part 2.
I know, what the hell.
Please, no dictionary words. Lol.
Thank you.
Right?
I'm a simpleton.
I still
Can't
can't
use-
say obfuscate.
Obfuscate.
I can't do it.
I can't. No,
I've tried.
only smart people can.
I've tried practicing and I still can't.
I
fucking
can't
do it.
either. Don't worry. I can't either.
See, I like how both of them are rather proud of their ignorance and not being able to say the word obfuscate.
Obfuscate.
Good enough. See, it's actually that's I do not understand why people are proud of their ignorance. They're like, the world is moving on past me and I don't care because I like to do things this way.
I think it was more in a joking manner, but
Okay.
it's okay.
Okay.
I'm a big dummy.
It's at first they mock you.
Yep. We'll
Then what
revere
happens?
you at one point, Faz.
What happens
Don't
after
worry.
they mock you?
And then they're sorry.
No. There's one in between. Then first they mock you, then
Well,
they
that's-
emulate you or some shit. Isn't it?
No,
And then
first they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. That's
I don't know what it is.
Anyway, we were going to talk today about some I don't know what do you call it when somebody regrets something that they've done.
The guilt.
Regret.
Somebody has some people have the guilt. People in the crypto world, they feel really guilty, especially when the market is down. What's up with that?
It's
So
psychological, man.
The
yeah,
market
it
is down and it affects them emotionally, and they're like, you know what?
Well-
I'm so sorry that I supported this crypto that then failed.
All right. So look. So it is there, right?
It's called
so
the regrets when people get the regrets.
I felt
they
bad.
found Jesus.
and you still pick on me for good old Black Eye Galaxy, right? And
I'm
so
glad you bring it up.
So you feel bad because you get all excited about this, you tell other people about it, and then all of a sudden it goes to shit in a big hurry. And you feel bad because you're like, God, these people like rely on my words. I'm kind of an expert.
I've suggested coins that I
at the-
rather
well,
like.
I'm
that-
saying you asked the
Mhm.
question, why do people get the guilt? So I'm trying to answer that. So you get that feeling and you go, wow, people look at me as the expert on this. And I put these words out and now it's a big shit pile and you feel bad. You do. You feel bad. I still feel bad about Black Eye Galaxy because that checked every box on all the research I did and looked fantastic. And suddenly we went to the site and it's fucking gone.
well, there's
and
a
you're
couple
like,
other coins I
what
didn't
the
get into
actual
that wound
hell?
up that you put money into that failed.
Yes, I have quite a pile of dog shit at the
Well,
bottom of my ledger.
Now, if I recall, your way of comparing coins was different than mine.
Yes, everybody has
and-
their own way of doing
And
it.
we would argue about whose was right. And so you had your suggestions and I had mine. Anyway,
That's the why behind the guilt.
so anyway, on the CryptoFaz Academy, there's a line of discussion. It was this morning, maybe started yesterday.
You jumped in
where
today.
someone was saying that they feel really embarrassed at the fact that they supported Gala and that they helped drive up the trading value of NFTs, Gala NFTs, and you know, and the example was given: a NFT was bought for $60,000 and then quickly flipped for $100,000, and you know, this person made a lot of money and now feels really guilty at the fact that they hyped up the NFTs, and especially with Gala, the way that Gala has not been producing and has been pissing people off and so on. And so my response was not really to say much about Gala, but to say, wait a minute. So you disapprove of a company that makes these that is making and using these gaming NFTs, which I actually like the idea of companies making gaming NFTs. But for some reason, when you flip it for that amount of money, it's okay to do for one company, but not for another. So that's what that's the first thing I think.
I mean, Gala comes to mind with, and I know who you're talking about because Gala was a big part of what was going on, right? He was a huge part of the run up, and on both sides, one is I can see why he feels upset about it.
Because Gala is not what
it's not even Gala. It's not even Gala. It could be any company
Right.
that you do that with.
Right.
And actually, a lot of people, and you're going to know this too, in the trading world, come to this realization that no matter what you do, if you win on a trade, somebody else is losing.
Yep.
So you cannot have a winner without the losers.
Right. And so that's why I'm thinking if anybody says that they're embarrassed for hyping up a company who was making NFTs and then they disapprove of the company later after they flipped a bunch of stuff, to me it's like, wait a minute. So it's okay to fuck over these people, but not those people. Wouldn't you want to flip it for companies that you didn't like?
Well, see, I think Gala I don't think he was saying, oh, I would rather do this with other companies, not just Gala. I think Gala was the fresh one because obviously you guys talk about Gala a lot on the channel. So Gala was there, and Gala was a huge run up. Some of the most expensive NFTs that were out there that were gaming NFTs.
Gala couldn't hold a candle to Decentraland and some others out there. So this Gala was playing a close second or third, not a close second, a distant second or third to things like Decentraland. I'm trying to think, wasn't there voxels or there's the Sandbox and stuff like that? They had some really expensive
quite
NFTs.
a few, yeah.
And Gala was, and the guy.
Are you talking about in terms of market cap or in their NFT sales?
The costs of the NFTs. Like the NFT might be $100, $10,000 for Gala, but $50,000 for Decentraland or the Sandbox. And so that's one of the things that the CEO benefactor would trumpet from time to time, saying, well, oh my God, if you're complaining about our prices, look at theirs. And he had a point. And of course, people are, since our channels at CFA are focusing on Gala, you know, it's like, doesn't matter. Gala's still a, bastard. And okay, yeah, you might have a point that Gala is a company that is taking advantage of their situation. To me, though, that if you bitch about, well, my focus has always been, look at the mechanism that you're using. What's the elephant in the room? It's not that the fact that NFTs, that people are flipping NFTs. It's what mechanism are you using? You're using a market. You're complaining about a market's typical mechanics. That's how markets work.
Whether it's NFTs or whether it's a stock market, they're the same way, 100%. They run in that psychological market. But again, I think it's okay for him. When I read through it, like he was expressing his regret for being a part of that, which is completely natural for a lot of people, and to understand that they were a part of that extreme run up, which a lot of people got burnt bad.
Really,
they got burnt bad by buying, whether they bought nodes at $100,000 or they bought an ancient EOE land for a whole lot of money,
$60,000. Oh my God!
Or legendary EOE land,
an ancient EOE land. I don't know. It was like $5 million or something like that.
There were so many, and if you go back in CFA, you can find them. There were a lot of people. You'll see them say, hey, it took me 4 months to save the money to get the rare XYZ.
And at that time, I was
Well, now
telling
wait.
people, don't do that.
Well, now wait. So that's where a lot of the pain that and frustration that I vent is, because there are people out there who scrimped and saved, and in some cases even took away from their families to try and be a part of this. And some of it was for the money, yes, but some were really excited about the game, right? Like you were the EOE dork, right? You were dying
but
for
they were also
EOE.
excited about the game is going to be play to earn.
Right. And so those are the people that I felt bad. I still feel bad
Oh,
for.
I feel
and then
bad
I
for 'em
try.
too.
That's why I bitch and complain and everything, because those are the people. I'm one of those people. I didn't have to scrimp or save.
But the problem is, what you're doing is, by saying that, you're making a strong argument for regulation.
No, it has nothing to do with regulation.
I kind of disagree with you there.
I don't.
sir.
I
think that's why that's. But sorry, I agree with you, and I agree with you. I think they're going to use it for regulation.
They will.
Does it need to have regulation? No, I don't think so. I think it's personal responsibility, which we
Right.
lack.
Okay.
We
so-
lack so much of in our
Okay, so
society.
about
We
that
do.
personal responsibility. Yeah. So I'm actually one of the personal responsibility people too, which
Sweet.
is
Like it.
I like that. But I'm also one of education. If and what regulators try to do is they try to protect people from themselves and stop things from happening. I would like to say I would love it if you
Yeah.
could take a course to become a trader.
Right. Instead of saying, "Hey, you have this much money to be a trader,"
I
do
mean,
this,
if you right,
learn
exactly.
about what you're trying to do.
just
I
like
totally
when you
agree with you. That'd
drive,
be
just
great.
like when you drive on the road, drive on the highway, you need to
yeah, you
pass
take
a
a
driver's
license.
test.
You got to get a license.
Just so that you know the stupid things not to do. Don't make a right-hand turn at 65 miles an hour. That's a dumb idea. But if you've never driven a car, you might not know that right away. And so the same thing with trading and buying things in markets like stocks. And I would support an education class for stock markets. I mean, just think of the business it would be. All these people would offer these classes.
Yeah. I can't disagree.
So that's
with you.
what I think a regulator should do.
So the regulators
Totally.
should be the people.
We-
And
at that point in time, we don't call them regulators.
we've
Educators.
tried. We've tried on several
Standards
occasions.
boards.
I've
Yeah.
done it. Lycan's done it. There's been a few others that say we have to personally then hold Gala accountable for that. And if that means shutting down our wallets and not buying anything until they get the picture, or they have to produce.
That's not going to work.
Okay, well, regardless if it works, that's the type of regulation I would like to see, is just the community sending that message back to them.
That is like herding cats. Okay, you're not going to get the community all together like that because there's too many ways to enter and stuff like that. So I'm sorry, you're not going to get the kind of effect you're hoping for if everybody is completely decentralized and we're all talking about personal responsibility. Not going to happen.
Well, that's the kind of regulation I'm trying to tell you. That's the kind of regulation I support, not Daddy Gensler with his gavel. I want regulation. That's the whole purpose of a DAO. That's the whole purpose of governance. That's the purpose of decentralization, is giving the people the power to make those decisions.
And
so
how are the people going to make how are the people going to how are they going to band together to make these decisions?
People band together under duress. Under
So is he
stress,
talking about unions
common goals?
now?
Common goals. I mean,
similarly, but not really.
I mean, you can go to unions back in the day to where an actual union was the actual, employees banding together, not a central agency that went and recruited them. When unions started, it started with people banding together to make it a better place for them. And that is something
a
that can happen.
long time ago,
Yeah.
we talked about unions for Gala NFTs too, if you recall.
I don't.
I do. It's on CFA.
Unions for Gala NFTs.
Yeah,
But I mean, essentially, if you think, the DAO site itself, that's one of the reasons why having a DAO, if you have enough people that are there, you have enough voices and enough money that's going to go around and support things, you have a voice. So it can help. The one thing that I think will get in the way, and this is me, looking at both sides here, is the fact that it's fucking crypto and people are going to get in there because they think they're going to make money regardless of whatever it's going to do, and they're just going to throw shit at it. Right. So, and they're going to go that route regardless of what's going to happen. Like, oh, it's going to 10x. I'm just going to come in here and keep buying it, and they're going to do the same thing.
And so what you're basically espousing a narrative where crypto is just speculative. It's all speculative right now.
So
For some people, yes.
This is interesting because this brings up, it popped into my mind just now. This is a great place to inject this. If you go to the Gala Music Discord and you look at the section, it was today or yesterday, there was a huge debate whether or not music tracks should have buy and sell or buy limits, right?
Oh.
And the way that Gala does this is when they start out with a new artist on Gala Music, they do a test, right? It's a test for 100 and see how fast it sells, see if people will buy it. And that's an indicator. And if they succeed with that, then they move to a drop of 350. Maybe at the same price, maybe not. But they're
searching for the sweet spot.
I'm getting to my point in 2 seconds. So there's these debates about this, whether there should be limits. If you go back to the beginning of Gala Games, when you and I got into it, you were in, I think, probably before any of us. But when he and I got in, we were about 3 months apart. These exact same conversations were happening with game NFTs. People were debating, should there be a limit? Oh, the people with all the money are coming in and scooping all these up, which is causing Gala to raise the prices.
I'm still pissed off at John T for those potion shops, by the way.
Yeah, so you have these things, but the people can debate about it. But just like with Gala Games, it made no difference. So is the perception of these people, these new people coming in, are they being painted the wrong perception from the get-go that they have that control when in reality they don't?
So
morality, is there morality? It's market conditions. It's
this whole
supply and
space.
demand.
This whole space is evolving, and where I see the spaces right now is it's still the Wild West. They're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. And what I find neat about Gala Games is the fact that they're trying all those areas. They're pressing all the buttons to see which one's actually going to do stuff. That's not bad, but it causes a lot of people to get thrown off.
Because, right, they're playing games after the fact that they took money for things.
I don't fault them for doing what they did because they're a business.
Right.
Right. As in the fact that
a lot of businesses do this.
Every business does. If they're trying to make money, if they're trying to profit, they're doing the same thing. Their market conditions are there. The supply and demand is there. Guess what you do? You either sell more or raise your prices. Right. If you
it's
have
literally
that
how
there.
Markets work.
And so Gala did the same thing. Bitbender even talked about it in there. Like people would ask, why are you raising it? He's like, because we can. Because people are fucking paying for it.
And so
we're making money.
So the problem is the problem that I can see that I would have a problem with is Gala actually artificially raising the price by going and bidding on their own stuff. That is not cool. However, are they taking advantage of a bunch of like 50 idiots who are beating themselves over the head trying to outbid each other? That's a good idea.
So here's the thing with regulation. A lot of regulation is simply setting the ground rules, right? So if you notice, Gala isn't making very much in sales lately. Okay, the past couple of months.
Yeah, no shit. The market is
well. Not only that, but it's regulation in that space could be something like, okay, Gala, you want to go and push all the buttons and try different things and be experimental. Well, you need to tell people that up front before they buy your NFTs that in this game that we're selling the NFTs for, we don't know what we're doing yet. We're going to experiment and play. Then people have the awareness going in before they buy it.
Right. So then the question becomes, how loud should they be about it? Because they do say that on the Discord, but they don't say that on the sales. Like, hey, this is an experimental sale Sunday here, and we're going to make it so that we might want to do this. Just letting you know. Okay, click this disclaimer, and then buy.
Yeah.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? But there's no regulation in this area. People won't do things they don't have to do.
And that goes to the morality. And that's
not a morality
thing.
I've
called Gala out on that.
Where there is no, and I'm sorry to say this, but where there is no regulation, the business that wins is the business that will go there.
So if we see, the morality part is actually biting them in the ass, as we see. Right. So they took the morality side and went with, let's just keep raising the prices and keep going because that's what the market does. I don't fault them for that because they were looking to make money.
What they said?
Right. But
they said that if they didn't raise the prices, one person's going to come in and buy them all up, like some people did with stables and storehouses and so on.
They did. 100% did. And they could have made it. They could have done different things to make it sure that somebody didn't do that. They didn't do that though. You could whitelist
Not at
people.
first. Later,
They tried to. They still. It was.
They put for a couple of their sales. They did try and put
Voxes.
limits on
They did
there.
They did a decent job with some of the Voxes, and they toned it down. But what happened was they pushed it to the limit to where it was so high. Things got so frothy and so crazy. And as you go into a bear market and you don't have the capital there anymore, and you are relying on it, which they are, which they were, now they're hurting and now they're upset because now they put these sales out and nobody's buying them. The Fire Steed was the first really big one that they put out. It was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's going to be this and that. I think the only ones that were bought were ancient were by Benefactor. I think he bought 2.
All the upper tiers, none of them really sold. There was like a handful of them that sold.
And that's because you ostracize, and what we saw with spider tanks, because we're off the heels of spider tanks with the no earnings and what all that stuff was going down. We're going to do drop pods and you're going to charge more money for us. Well, the people like me who came in and I bought those things and I funded this stuff, I gave them the funding, right?
Right.
I made a lot of money from Gala too. Don't get me wrong. But again, I put a lot of money in there so they could do what they did.
Right.
And me with a lot of other people, I talked with a few of them this week. I don't know what day it is. And, nobody's buying because of the fact that you literally just took it and then don't care.
Here's a question. Would they have been buying in this bear market if Gala were to have done those things that you're talking about?
I'll tell you right now, the point, my turning point for me to stop buying was the drop pods. That was my literal turning point when I saw them come in and say, hey, guess what? You have to pay for a drop pod, right? Oh, if you have a node, you get some extra drop pods or whatever else it is. But if you want extra ones, you're gonna have to pay for them and this kind of stuff. For me, I was sold a bill of goods of that I was going to be able to rent out my spider tank. Now, I understand if they want to limit it in the beginning because of the amount of players and they want to spread it out. I understand that fully. But don't make me buy more things. Don't make it be that way. Limit it to accounts, right? Limit it that way. Make
My
sure that we're
understanding
here.
of drop pods was it was their way to say, oh, we've got to make the person actually have to do some work in order to rent these out. Because if we don't, then we might not comply with SEC regulations.
That's bullshit.
As far as charging them.
Because I buy anything, that doesn't mean it's work. Me clicking a button is work. So I have to do the same thing right now. Like if I go in and I want to rent this to somebody, I just have to say, okay, Faz, I'm going to rent this chicken to you. And I put Faz in there and I push the buttons and it goes over.
Right.
So that's the work, right? What they said was that it was because there was too many tanks and not enough people to play them. So they didn't want one account to basically get all the tanks that they were renting out, which I totally understand.
Right.
And I get that. But go about it in a way that you're not trying to suck more blood out of me, right? That was my point at that point in time. I said, I'm out, right? What they do on music, they did the same thing with beams. They said, oh, your nodes can only host 10. After that, you can take your beams and you can buy more, right? And I'm like, so now you're just sucking. I am not getting the feeling like you want me as an early adopter and an early funder of your projects, that you don't want me around. You just want to keep me on the hook to give you more money.
So, okay, here's what I don't understand. So fine, you're an early funder. So you got a music node, you have to buy additional beams, or you got a spider tank node and you have to buy additional drop pods. What about the person who comes in now who doesn't have a node and might want to buy some drop pods? I think you have to host it on other nodes or something.
If you buy drop pods, I don't know. I don't think you have to have
a
node.
Whatever the case is, you compared to somebody coming in now, because the nodes are, well, right now they're not selling any spider tank nodes, and I don't know about the music nodes. But if you were to buy a founder's node right now, they're way too high.
Yeah.
So nobody coming in is going to buy a founder's node. My understanding with all this, I call it subdividing, where they put something out and then they're like, oh, but you got to do this too. And they're subdividing like what features. My understanding was like it started with the founders node where they were selling more founders node than capacity that they needed. And so they kept raising the price because they're like, well, we don't need this capacity. However, if people want to buy nodes, we're going to keep raising the price. And then I thought that ostensibly the reasoning there would apply to beams and drop pods as well. Well,
there's the moral.
So you're actually keeping the the people who bought the early nodes, they're going to be used more often, and the people who have the later nodes, they have to pay more to get less.
But that's not what they that's not why they did it. That's not why they raised the prices. It had nothing to do with that. If you go back when we first started with nodes, when you bought your first nodes, because you bought them
2020.
and you were earning Gala before Gala was even listed anywhere. There wasn't even a liquidity pool, right? I was the same way. We were hosting the nodes because we understood that Gala was going to be this token that was a centralized one token to rule them all for the entire Gala verse, right? All the Gala games that came on board, it was going to be Gala.
We're going to be through the nodes.
Nodes were going to be running the games. Nodes were
Right.
going to be distributing the NFTs. These founders nodes, when we were told this, they were going to be this ultimate thing out of everything. As you move down that road, what did they do? Not just raise the prices of nodes at a point in time, and that was early on when they raised it. But what they did is they started to make other nodes, Townstar nodes, Spider Tank nodes, music nodes, film nodes, LE nodes, like all these different nodes to host these games because the founders node network won't be able to host all those games. Well, magically, founders nodes weren't even doing anything, nor would they ever do anything for any of these games. So that was a complete
and
utter
then they
bullshit.
changed what the nodes would do, and now they're saying the Gala nodes will actually host the blockchain. But I'm not sure how Geary plays into this.
Right, because these are Gala founders nodes, not Geary founders nodes. There was some talk about them potentially saying you can upgrade your founders node to a Geary node. Don't know if that's still on the table. Are they going to sell a Geary node? Are you going to stake your Gala in your founders node to run it as a Geary node?
You won't know that until they decide
So-
what they're going to do. Again, the experimentation.
So they're okay. So they're doing a lot of experimentation, and in the beginning, it sounds like they didn't know what the hell they wanted to do, or basically they want to do something simple. And then as they got more popular, they kept splitting things out.
I think what they're doing is they like we do here in this room. We sit and we come up with a great idea, and then we develop that idea and we put it out, right? What Gala, I think, is doing is coming up with a great idea, then putting it out, and then figuring out, well, how do we make this work? Because they're in the process of raising the money with it.
And then some things might come up and they modify it, or
here's-
money is left on the table and then they want to capture that.
Money's left on the table. Here's that conundrum. You said it perfectly. If you were told when you first bought your music nodes, if you were told, hey, these are only going to hold 10 tracks, would you have bought more than 10 tracks? Probably not.
No, because I want to host my own tracks on my own nodes.
Wasn't there also a reward for getting all the Snoop tracks, which was more than 10?
Which was more than 10. How do they sell the nodes? You can run these nodes and host a ton of music on these nodes.
The music, no,
right?
the music nodes, they had said pretty much straight out that if you host more than like a few, you're not going to have the bandwidth to be able to host.
No, I don't remember that. I remember hearing
they're very
be
specific.
part of the decentralized revolution.
They're very specific about this. I specifically only bought, I think, 1 or 2 music nodes just because you'd need to like put them in geographically separate places on the planet.
We're going to go back and I'm going to
do it.
This mission I'm going to find. You said you should never
all the time.
need more than one node to run these, more than one music node.
I said this?
You said this.
Then there
I'll
we go.
pull that one up.
I bought one, keep one to sell.
Bought one to keep, one to sell because you thought you could fit as many music tracks as you wanted on that one node. So there's the issue. And there's the moral compass, right? Because Gala knows if I tell them this, they're not going to buy more than 10.
That's
if
a
I
bad
don't
idea.
tell them this, they're going to get pissed
So
later.
that's a
because
bad
I can't
idea.
put
If
more
I
than
can
10
only
on
ever
them.
run one node and only ever run 10 tracks, then you're going to be forced to have. I mean, how many different disparate geographic places can you host nodes? You're going to run out.
But that's the thing.
Not
They
if
don't
you're-
care about decentralization at this point. They just care about getting nodes and tracks and sales and build up their empire. Then they'll worry about the decentralization.
And what was the node? What was the node sale for?
What do you mean, was the node
What was the
sale?
node sale
Television?
for? It was to help. It was to help fund
to
music.
fund it, right?
So you got to get it out early. You got to get the stuff that's out there. Again, I don't fault them for this itself. I understand
you
it.
Tell it ahead of time.
If there was more information, and it comes back to what the whole node vote you guys talked about last week, right? We don't want to go into it. I'm just saying,
Oh my God.
there's just not the information. It's just this whole thing, which they shouldn't call it a node vote, by the way. They should be calling it the node owners sentiment poll.
Sentiment.
Sentiment.
NOSP, because it's literally the
What's
sentiment.
the weather?
Yeah.
Like,
Which way we go? That's because that's all it is, and it's just a poll. It's not a vote for anything. It's just literally a poll. See where people are at. Which way's the wind blowing today?
Mm-hmm.
Just put it out like that, and people aren't going to complain, right? And then you know what else you do? Just put it out to all the fucking gala, because right now the note owners think that they're going to get some sort of like benefit from me voting. Like, oh, my vote counts.
Right.
Your vote doesn't count.
They're
Great.
going to do whatever they want.
Take it away. Just put it out all to gala and say, hey, we got it on your gala account. We want you to go vote. We want to see what you guys are thinking. Tell us what you think.
And before, see, the difference is before the decision's made or after. If you go back, and I pointed this out on a Faz Radio, if you go back and look at what Benefactor and Bitbender were saying in Discord months ago, they had already made their decision on this because they were talking about, the extended halvening that we're going to have. And I put a screenshot on one of our shows up about that. The halvenings, don't worry about that. The halvenings aren't going to be guaranteed every year now. They had already made the decision months ago.
This was getting me about their halvening plan, because they made up a plan years in advance. When I got into it, it was like 2020, 2021. That you knew how it was going to be until all the gala ran out. And now they're changing plans every year they've changed the plans. They're like, well, we were going to take more was going to go to gala, but we're going to give more to you. And then after the next year, we're going to give more to you. And then the next year, people were mad because they weren't going to do that. And then now they're changing it completely and totally differently. Mm-hmm. Like now we're going to burn and remake. Now they had to make a new currency.
I think those were the one votes that actually they did take into consideration, only because they knew how the vote was going to go.
Right.
It was, hey, note owners, do you want more or less? More.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Hey, note owners, do you want them to be an NFT or not? Yes.
Dumb.
Do you even know what it is? What's the vote yet? I'm going to look it up.
Oh, it's a landslide.
I'm sure it is. I haven't looked at it.
I haven't even participated because
it ended this week. So
yeah, it ended today.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out. I'll pull it up. I have a question for you guys.
What?
We're going to move from this, but still gala.
No.
What's your guys' take on them moving out of the U.S.?
That hit me totally blindsided 2 days ago. I had no idea about this. I popped into the gala channel and I'm like, what is this fuckery? So they think that they're going to avoid U.S. regulation by moving to Switzerland. Not going to happen. Or they shut out the U.S. So what does that do to all of us U.S. people who already own assets? And they bring up the Chinese wall and say, that's it. No more transactions for you. You're in the United States.
Well, we can still sell them to people that need them. However, so my thought is they're doing the same thing that Ripple has threatened and then backed down from their threat. And Coinbase is currently threatening. They're just doing the typical thing.
Coinbase will open up a non-US based entity. They will 100% do that, just like Binance opened up a US based entity. But Coinbase will do that just so they have the ability to, at a point in time, if the regulations get too overextended, they'll just move out. And I know, yes, the US will still go and try to prosecute you if you are doing business in the US from a different country, 100%. But it's a lot more work for them to do that. So they're going to have to go after, bigger fish, whatever's going to happen there. I don't know, man. Like, I don't see the benefit of them doing that.
I think also it has to do with the lawsuits. They've obviously been sued several times by several different types of entities.
But can you escape a lawsuit by changing
No, but
the country?
you can. It could be more favorable and more difficult for people to file. Are you going to go through the hassle of filing in Switzerland? Do you know what hoops you have to jump through to file a lawsuit in Switzerland? Right? It's gonna discourage, just like the sign on the back of trucks.
So you're talking about future lawsuits,
right?
Yeah, okay.
If us three get pissed off because our NFTs aren't making what they're not provided the utility Gala thought they were going to give, and we go to sue them, it's far easier for us to sue them in the United States than it is to sue them in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And it's just a deterrence, right? It's called a deterrent. So the sign on the back of gravel trucks that say this vehicle is not responsible for damages caused because you don't back up 200 feet. That's complete bullshit. But they avoid 50% of their lawsuits because they have that sign there and people are stupid.
That's the same way that McDonald's had to put, hey, guess what? Our coffee's hot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
absolutely.
We put all that kind of shit on there. I don't have much opinion on them really moving out of the U.S. I really don't care. essentially. Like,
Mhm.
you know, unless it's going to affect my current holdings that they sold me
Right.
while I was in
And
the
that's my
US.
fear. That's my
Yeah,
fear.
I mean, then there's blowback that'll come back from that for sure if that
Mhm.
happens. But you know, it is what it is. I don't usually get too upset with certain things. I'm like, I make my choices and I live with them as we go down.
Part,
And
part of it is the state of things. I mean, it's the U.S. is making things harder to be in the U.S. So crypto
for
companies
sure.
are just going to move out regardless of their reasoning.
But here's my thing. Instead of, we talked about this, it comes down to levels. We talked about a DAO banding together
Right.
to be able to like have enough people, enough money, and enough voice to make a difference. The same thing can happen with these companies. You have enough money and enough people coming in to back a similar situation that's going to go in and fight. That's going to make a difference, right? Instead of them leaving the US, they need to join the fight with Coinbase, right? Any
Mhm.
company that's here right now should literally stand with Coinbase and do the same thing and be like, hey, guess what? That's why they're minting their shield, right?
Right.
Do you stand with Coinbase? Look, I was pissed off at Coinbase. They locked me out for 9 months.
Did you ever get in there?
Yeah, I'm in now. I had to go through a multitude of hoops. They thought I was a money launderer,
Right.
right? I literally, what I was doing was trying to buy a house. All my money's in crypto.
Right.
Unfortunately, crypto.
Yes.
Right? So
Absolutely.
they're like, show us where your money is. And so I'm trying to show them, and they don't get anything. I'm like walking them through it, like and then I put it into, you know, Coinbase, and they're like, no, you have to have it in dollars. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's a taxable event. So then I make a taxable event, and they're like, no, you can't. You have to put it in your bank account. So I put it in my bank account.
Oh my God.
So then they get the little thing. I take it back out. I put it in the Coinbase, and they're like, oh, we need to take another screenshot. So I take it back into the US bank account and then back in. So Coinbase is like, what are you doing? What's going on here? So literally I had to go through so much stuff. They wanted to see literally where I got my money from like 10 years ago.
Mhm.
They're like, where have you gotten all your money from? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? But I digressed a lot on that. Sorry.
No.
But ultimately
It's
what I'm saying
important
is,
to
you know, I haven't been happy with Coinbase with a lot of things, but what I think they're doing now, we should all, if we value, if you're in the US and you value your, you know, freedoms to make your choice, to be able to invest in things you want and not be overseen by a dictatorship, and you feel they may be doing something wrong, then you should stand with Coinbase. And these companies should do the same thing if they feel that it is wrong. If you don't, if you think the government's doing the right thing, then yeah. Well, obviously you're not leaving here if you think they're doing the right thing.
Well, and a lot of people have a lot of anger because the SEC signed off on it. Coinbase put in the paperwork
yeah.
where it clearly says we're going to be trading in these types of instruments. And they even had to put a section in there. If you looked at the document, there's a section in there. The SEC made them put in a scorecard, which is basically what coins and what tokens can go on there without having issues from the SEC. And they create the scorecard, and the only the tokens that pass this scorecard can get onto the platform, and the SEC says, yeah, we got no problem with that. They turn around and
no, they didn't say that. They didn't say that. What they said was that Coinbase can sell stock in their company. They didn't say that they didn't approve of any of the specific currencies.
It was posted.
I
on
don't.
Twitter.
I don't. You'll have to show that because I don't see where the
goes
SEC
through
said
the whole
that they approved of the
scorecard
currencies.
Well, and the other thing too is they literally came out and went through all the insider trading stuff, and he was trading multiple tokens, and they came out with out of like, I don't know, 15 tokens or whatever it was, and they said 3 of them or 6 of them were securities, right, of those tokens. So they came out and said, guess what, these are securities. But ultimately saying that these ones aren't, right? So I mean,
they don't appear to be today.
Yeah, in a roundabout way, they're being very vague. And yeah,
what did they say about Bittrex? Because I knew AVAX was listed as a security by the SEC. Do they mean that that coin is a security, or that Bittrex was treating it as one?
No, that the coin is a security. They are trading securities.
So why didn't AVAX like just plummet after that?
I think everybody's just tired of the bullshit. Nobody cares. I mean, really, like you can do bad news after bad news right now. Of when we saw it with Binance FUD that was coming through in this time frame.
Right.
We're in such a bear market. The sellers, that's why we've moved up so much from the bottom. We're almost, we're at 30K because there's not the sellers, right? Until we get higher liquidity and we get up into that probably 36, 40K, do we see more sellers that are going to be coming through? It's just seller exhaustion. That's why.
Mhm.
you know, and that's kind of like, that's a sentiment thing. You saw it when you were probably in there. It's like, as you move through the cycles and you see the amount of FUD, and it's the same thing in a bull market, right?
Exactly.
It's the opposite in the bull market. You see the news come out and it doesn't affect it the way you think it's going to. It's because you've ran out of buyers or you ran out of sellers. And so
I remember the bear market that started in 2018 and went through, and then finally it was all 2018. Then 2019 things started coming back up slowly, but then it was 2020 when things really started going up. And I did recall a lot of exhaustion during that time.
Yeah, 2019 had a really good run up. It went from 3K up to 14 or 15K, and then it did that sideways, and then you had COVID, just the COVID wick, and then ripped up, right?
Actually, and that's where I did pretty well because COVID went down and I was able to buy some stuff because it started after COVID started going up like through May and June and July. I was just buying a little bit here and there. And of course, now everything's, even when it's down, it's above where it was from the COVID plunge.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, cycles. It's all cycles.
So do you think, since you're here and you like to talk about this kind of stuff, do you think that there's going to be another bull market?
Yes.
Beep, that's our bull market. Yeah. We got a bull market. Technically fits it.
Yes, with an asterisk.
So I think a lot of when you say yes to something like that, that says to me that you think that crypto has a future.
So I do. I think, again, everything's cycles. Like you can see it in not just trading, but just in life in general, right? You see so many cycles, circles, Fibonacci sequence, like it's patterns. And in the markets themselves, it's driven by psychology, and it's the bulls and it's the bears. It's the fight that's ever there. And I think we're going to see another bull market. We're in a weird economic situation. That's my asterisk, right? This economic situation is something that crypto and Bitcoin has never been in before. It's what it's built for.
Which is going to affect it.
It's what it's built for, though, which is the interesting part. Is it going to react the way everybody thinks it's going to react?
So okay. Well, let's go with that direction. Since we're having a lot of weird banking stuff going on now because we have some banks failing, and the U.S. is going in and shutting banks down or putting them into receivership and stuff like that. Are there people actually using Bitcoin to where they can get around using banks? Are there a lot of people doing that, or just some?
It's just some. I mean, there's only a handful of people that actually do it, right? That use it. I think it's a store of value mostly for people to hedge against the dollar. You can do that with a lot of things. Gold, people like gold a lot more. That's why people look at Bitcoin as being the digital.
Has gold been going up the last couple of years?
Yeah. Well, no, not it. Again, people thought gold was going to rip. It was flat. I think it's encroaching upon its all-time high, actually, getting close to it again. So I think it's at 2K or close to it, maybe. I haven't looked in a bit, but I knew it was kind of pushing up. But this is the narrative that gold was there for, why Bitcoin was created, right? Like this idea that banks are failing, you need to have some sort of secure way to put your money into, right? Whether it's real estate, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's gold, these are the things that have intrinsic value.
Okay, I'm going to change the subject back to what we started out with.
Do it. I want to see what gold's at, though. I'm going to look at it. Where you're
So what we started out this cast with was that some people in CFA were complaining about Gala Games, how they've been handling things. And I said, hey, look, the elephant in the room is the mechanism in which all these things are being traded, like markets and stuff. And I said specifically, look, stocks are a scam. Currencies are a scam. Cryptocurrencies aren't much different from those things. And oh my God, people are scamming, except there's less regulation with cryptocurrencies. So I want to touch on the stock part and the currencies part, because with stock, companies realized that you can say that somebody, you could sell parts of the company. You could divide up the company into 100 pieces and sell it to 100 people. And they each have a piece of the company, and then you can use that to raise money. That's called a security. And then currencies, you could be a nation and you can give everybody $1. And then depending on how many you print, that gives its value. But each of those are really scams because companies that have 100 stocks, they'll start printing up more stocks. They'll make 1,000 stocks.
Stock splits.
And then they'll buy them back up, and then they'll do reverse splits, and then countries will print up more dollars, and when it benefits them, and then they'll burn a lot of dollars when it benefits them, and it always benefits whoever's the issuer is.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden the SEC has problems, or better yet, all of a sudden me and you have problems when we see Gala Games doing that. It's like, oh, this is supposed to be decentralized, and you're actually the centralized person. But then again, if you have 10 million fucking cryptocurrencies out there, isn't the value kind of spread among all those currencies? Doesn't it make it better that it's not a government that's in charge of all that stuff?
Well, I mean, Gala Games is the government, right? They're the ones that
the government of Gala.
Government of Gala, right? They're just doing the same thing.
But they're not the government of Ethereum.
I'm on the boat of its personal responsibility, and if this person came to the realization that they feel bad about it, that's totally on them. And I feel,
is it personal responsibility if you put all your money into dollars?
Hell yeah, it is. You can put your money in whatever you want.
So
right?
It's your personal responsibility if dollars were to tank.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not.
I don't have all my money in dollars.
Okay. Well, that starts getting into an area which most people in the world are not trained.
100%.
They're not educated.
Education.
I mean, you were to take, if you were to take a poll of United States citizens and ask them whether they put their money into dollars, real estate, or whatever, and I bet you'll find most people say, well, dollars, I just put it in the bank. And then they don't realize that putting your money in the bank is not your money. You're giving an unsecured loan to the bank, and they may or may not pay you back.
That's because we actually are educated in that. We're educated in the fact that is the way to do it. Look at your finance classes in high schools. Like, how do they teach you about finance? What do you
put your money in the bank and you'll save it?
Put your money in the bank and save it. Make sure you balance your checking account and get a credit card when you can, so you can start to build up your credit score. Which, by the way, did you see the whole thing on loans?
I did.
The whole thing.
That is an entire show in itself.
I know. I just want to drop it for a second. So that I'm gonna butcher this, but so they put out that the people with a 750 or above credit score are now going to be charged they're going to get charged an amount to basically help the people that have below a 600 credit score in loans. And I'm like, what? But that's a whole nother show. But going back to yours, that's how we're educated. We are educated.
You just blew my mind there. Okay.
I know.
It's like, why even have a credit score at all?
Exactly.
But, yeah, that's part of the problem.
But we're educated in the fact that this is what you need to do. You need to get a job and work 40 hours a week and get a pension, or put it in a 401k, and you work for 50 years and then you retire at 67. Okay, that's what you do. That's what you're trained to do.
But what you're trained to do in that case is you're actually trained to make a loan and then collect from the other patsies, the other saps who are putting in money when you retire.
Well, let's go to the markets, right? Like, this comes back to the markets and the psychological. You can't have a winner without a loser.
Right.
Right.
And so,
and if you realize that, you can have this 100% realization that, yes, you were a part of that gala run up. But if you do that on anything else, you're doing the same thing. It doesn't matter. But have that realization. I think it's totally fine. The markets aren't like there's an internal battle I have sometimes as well. Like, if I'm trading, I still feel that same way. I'm like, man, Townstar was one of them. But I was shouting it at the rooftops when Townstar was at $2. I think I talked to you about it at that time too. And I'm like, get the fuck out. Like, it is unsustainable. I was one of the ones they're upset about, because I sold all of mine that I had there. Now, I ended up playing Townstar and ended up having another 4 million Townstar that I got switched over into Gala or whatever it was. But I took out a lot when it was at $2 because it's unsustainable. And no, I put money into this stuff to be play to earn. And I'm going to take the money out. Did people lose? Yes. And I was a part of that. Does it hurt sometimes? Yes. But also, it's a personal responsibility.
So that's okay. So that's what gets me. Fine. You do that, and you may or may not feel embarrassed about it. What gets me is the same. Fine. You'll feel embarrassed about that. But then people are encouraged to put their money into 401ks which do the same goddamn thing.
Totally agree.
And then they have companies that manage these 401ks that do exactly what you're saying that you did, but they're not just doing it to just the people buying Gala NFTs. They're doing it to fucking everyone. Fidelity. They're doing it to fucking everyone. So it's everywhere. And so that's why when people say things like, well, I can't believe that I encouraged Gala's, raising the valuation on Gala's NFTs. I'm like, then who do you prefer to screw?
We're going to go.
Fine, you were screwing Gala games and you don't like them now. You're screwing all those people.
We're getting to the point of our spiritual journey. Okay, guys? So this is where we realize that we need to take ourselves away from the economy. We need to move away, sell our things. We have too many things. Let's get away. Go live in the woods, But then I'm going to start killing somebody else's meat that they're trying to get because I'm a better hunter than them.
Okay, so I used to...
and then they're going to die. And it's all my fault.
Well, I used to work for, Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah.
And what they did, what's kind of funny about them is their whole purpose is to have enough animals out there for you to kill. And so then they issue you permits. Because if they didn't, then all the animals would be gone. And so they're like, okay, well, let's do some math and they can have babies so fast. And we know how many animals there are. So if we do this and, oh shit, population's a lot lower, yank all the permits, And so really they're about just making sure that there's animals to kill. What happens if they don't is fisheries will collapse and animal and populations will collapse.
Fisheries already are collapsing because they fucking suck at what they do.
Well, yeah,
they ban everybody from fishing
Washington
except the commercial fishermen.
Right.
It's
Oregon and Washington put it in their state constitutions that they must produce so many fish, and that still doesn't seem to.
Nope. And then they also were supposed to have a gill netting pack. So when I go in and I get my fishing license, hunting license, this is completely not crypto, I'm sorry, but and I get my fishing and hunting license, I have this little thing that says it's the Columbia River Act that I have to pay for, right? If I ever want to fish on the Columbia River, I have to pay for it. That specifically one was put into effect 5 or 6 years ago, and it was to pay for getting these gill netters new jobs. Okay, guess how many gill netters have been banned or taken away from the actual Columbia River and Willamette rivers? 0. None of them. You know what happens? They actually get the top of the run. So the run being when the salmon and the fish are coming up the river, right? They don't allow sport fishermen to fish. They say, you can't fish during this time frame. We're going to let these gill netters go out and just rape and pillage. And they take everything, not just salmon, every fish. And they destroy the top of those runs, and they just come through and they just take it all out. Yeah, what do they do to the sport fishermen? They limit how many I can catch. I can only get 1 a day, maybe 2 if I'm lucky if I go in there. But, I'm going to make it harder for you. I'm going to make you use barbless hooks, right?
Oh, boy.
And I can only fish during a certain time frame. Like I get a limited time frame to fish. I'm on a fucking boat with a string and a hook on it, dude. Like, and you're letting a gill netter go down the river? Give me a break.
So anyway, so that says to me, and we're going to tie this back to crypto,
good,
that the people who make the laws don't truly understand the economies that they're regulating. And then we get to crypto, where the people in Congress really, truly do not understand what the fuck is going on, and they think they know.
Yeah.
And then they, of course, they're calling anybody who does anything with crypto like a bad person or whatever. And I think they're also trying to shut down crypto because crypto goes around the U.S. dollar and around banks. They will totally decimate banks. And banks need to realize that they exist for services, they don't exist to make to be what the money scammers that they are right now.
Yeah.
They're actually going to have to be responsible if crypto took off.
We hit an hour, boys.
We did.
Nice. Oh,
I heard you. I heard you trying to tie things.
Bring
up.
it around. I kind of went off on a tangent on my hunting.
That's all right. It's important.
Fishing.
When you guys were talking about that, I read the article, and that is complete horseshit.
It's crazy, man. Like,
so regulations, and that's the other part that I'll close with is you always say I ask for regulations. I ask for self-regulating, meaning the parties that are involved in it to find a way to regulate it themselves. Because
and that's what I say is like herding cats. You're not going to get people to self-regulate,
or a government.
What do people self-regulate right now? Tell me what people self-regulate right now.
Let me finish my point. If you give legislators or people who don't know, like you were saying, don't know what they're doing in that space, the power, they're going to not only over-regulate it, they're going to regulate it incorrectly. And once you give people like that power, you never, ever get it back again.
Fine.
That's a danger.
Fine. But I'm still trying to get through my thick skull an example of where people self-regulate. Maybe bad words in a kiddie daycare or something. I mean, where do people self-regulate?
People self-regulate in
Things that
homeowners
involve money.
associations.
Things that involve money.
Homeowners associations.
Yeah, homeowners.
You have to pay.
It might
you
be
have to pay to
bad.
be in one. You have to pay to be in one. When you buy a house, you know that you're going to be part
Are
of
you
that
looking for a
homeowners.
group of people that self-regulate? Because I think you're going to
That's
have to
what
go
I
on
thought he
maybe
was
The
just like
asking.
homeowners
associations.
associations
That's a big
punish
word.
people that don't self-regulate. So that means they're regulating.
So the self-regulation probably comes to individuals. Like individuals are going to self-regulate on a certain level.
I'm trying to figure that.
I'm
I
self-regulating.
self-regulate myself on where I put my money. I'm going to put it in.
Yeah,
how
but-
much Bitcoin am I going to have?
But when
Do I
you
have US
say
dollars?
that, you are just in the extreme fucking minority because you're one of those people that are smart enough that has spent enough time to figure out how things work. And that's actually part of my goal
agree.
for this show is to
Yeah.
show people how things work so that they can do it too.
We're going back to the lack of education that we have in this country, whether it be with crypto, whether it be with what you do with your money, anything along those lines. We have a lack of education, or we have an education that is teaching the wrong things.
Well, and we
yeah,
also have
yeah.
an education
And-
that is
true.
voluntary. Okay,
Yeah.
because people don't think Bitcoin's going to be a big deal. They purposely don't. Hey, I don't need to worry about that. Bitcoin's not going to do anything.
And
so
all
why
the early
bother learning
adopters are
about
going to make
it?
all the money.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah.
there, yeah,
Round and
that's-
round in a circle.
I'll end it.
Do it.
Gold's at 1999.
Wow,
Basically all-time highs.
Right.
So we're at there.
Well, you know
Very
what?
Cool.
On that note, I'm gonna